From being one of the biggest players in NBA history to being plagued with controversies, here's a breakdown of the fall of Michael Jordan. He had a super bad gambling addiction. Insider sources have confirmed that the player has had this problem since high school. That's pretty young, right? Jordan is said to have written a letter to his high school prom date thanking her for paying off a bet they made before the dance. Sounds harmless enough though, but it was probably the start of one of the worst addictions the world has ever seen. Similar evidence backs up the claim that he gambled a lot when he was in college too. In 1982, he sent a classmate at the University of North Carolina a $5 check. In 2019, it was put up for auction. The student won that amount of money at the pool table, and he asked for a check because he thought Jordan would become famous. Smart guy, right? The all-star gambled with his teammates and even their college coaches while they were practicing. It got a lot worse when he got into the NBA. You know what they say, mo money, mo problems. Before he joined the league, he had made a lot of money and gambled with anyone who would entertain him. Sam Smith says at the beginning of the Jordan rules that the famous player used to play cards with him and Lacey Banks, who were both reporters for the Chicago Bulls. He also took part in literally any competition that was set up. He would often bet with a Bulls security guard on cartoon races shown on the Jumbotron during games. And he won almost every time, because he had advance notice about the winners from the venue workers. Yikes, right? It gets worse. The player attacked his team members more than anyone else. He was always cheating at cards, which was bad for the team charters. Even though he liked to play against high-stakes players, he would play at almost any stake. MJ didn't care about who he hurt. In his book, When Nothing Else Counts, Michael Leahy talked about his comeback with the Washington Wizards. He talked about the time when MJ played with a teenager, Kwame Brown, even though assistant coach Johnny Bach told him not to. Jordan wouldn't stop for anyone. His time with Team USA was horrible. As he trained with the Dream Team in Monaco for the 1992 Olympics, he was able to visit the famous Monte Carlo casino. It was like leaving an alcoholic in a liquor factory. As soon as the team moved to Barcelona, he arranged a late-night poker session with some of the world's top players. Patrick Ewing, Magic Johnson, and Charles Barkley were some of his most common gambling buddies. He had finally found a group of people who could afford to keep up with him. It was clear right away that the amounts he was willing to bet were way too high for most people. That was the lowest point of his life. His problems got worse than ever. Even though playing cards was more common, Jordan's most expensive way to gamble was to play golf. James Buller was put in jail for 9 years in 1993 for conspiracy, gambling, and dealing drugs. Jordan had to testify against him because he had given the shady dealer a $57,000 check. At first, he said that the money was for his business. Later, on the stand, he admitted that it was a debt he got while illegally betting on golf. If you thought he saw the error of his ways from this very public trial, you'd be wrong. Because he owed other shady people a lot of money too, like Richard Esquinas, who was his golf partner. In his memoirs, the author claimed that Jordan owed him around $1,250,000 from golf bets. Can you believe it? MJ denied these allegations, but an insider report confirmed that he made a deal with his friend behind closed doors. It was reduced to a $300,000 deal. That's so much money. Even though gambling is against the law in Hilton Head, South Carolina, these tournaments were often held there. Money broke the law, but it wasn't a big deal for him and didn't fit with his otherwise perfect reputation. So he wasn't charged with anything. But then came the big scandal that effectively ruined everything. During the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals, he gambled the entire time. Jordan was seen at a casino in Atlantic City right before a big match. He was there even during the playoffs. His gambling habits went from bad to worse. His trip to the city with the columnist Mark Vancil was met with a lot of criticism, since Buller's conviction and Esquinas' claims were pretty fresh in everyone's minds. Back when he was labeled a gambler, everyone loved him, but not anymore. His wallet wasn't the only thing that took a hit because of his gambling. His performance on the court wasn't the same either. Even though he lost Games 2 and 3 in New York, he did manage to win Game 3 at home. His fans and teammates were super disappointed though, as he only made 3 of 18 shots from the pitch in Games 2 and 3. The Bulls came back and won the title, but rumors about his gambling spread like wildfire. It got so bad that the league had to intervene. The NBA looked into his gambling habits and found nothing wrong at first, but that didn't stop the rumors. Many people still think that his sudden retirement in 1993 was a covert punishment for his gambling. This led to maybe the worst conspiracy against the once-loved basketball player. His father was murdered, and there were rumors that it was because of Jordan's gambling debts. While no one ever found any solid evidence to back this up, his reputation took a big hit. He did go on to buy the Hornets though, so no one probably found anything on him. All of this wasn't enough to give him the wake-up call he so badly needed. He just kept gambling, even after all of that. Even though he tried to stay out of the spotlight, many stories have come out about his second hat trick in Chicago, among other things. The pattern just continued and his addiction got worse. In 2006, MJ, Charles Oakley, and other players played a card game during All-Star Weekend. In 2019, at his basketball camp, Chris Paul bet free shoes with him. Jordan was known to put everything on the line while gambling, just like he did with basketball. In 2013, a former MTV star claimed he tried to make a pretty with her. He told her she'd have to sleep with him if she lost at dice. The player has never addressed this. Isn't that super shady? When things blew up, the All-Star came clean. He promised fans that he would clean up his act. Unfortunately, he never showed any proof to back it up. He had a successful career despite the circumstances of his first retirement. He is now so rich from basketball and sponsorship deals that he can't lose it all at the gambling tables. It doesn't matter if he ever had trouble or not. Even if he had, it wouldn't have been much of a problem now. Jordan's meteoric rise to basketball stardom barely slowed down, so he can now do what he loves without any trouble. But he has lost the respect, love, and adoration of his fans, which is just heartbreaking. That's all I have on the fall of NBA star Michael Jordan.